Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. The Three Gunas. It's one of the unique contributions of Vedanta philosophy. Guna means texture, quality. Even though it is slightly more than that, Guna is strictly, it is not just to be taken as texture. See, there's something more to it. So we prefer to use the word Guna itself. Quality of what? What they tell us is, every object, everything in the world has a unique Guna of its own. And those Gunas, when it is analyzed, they said there are three types. Sattvikam, Rajasam, and Tamasam. And we have Englishized it and say Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. There's no Sanskrit word called Sattva. There's no Sanskrit word called Rajas. It is Rajasam. It is Tamasam. But colloquially we use it as Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That's about it. Why we study this? Why do you have to know about it? And we define this based what dimension of Guna we are going to focus on. Like the sound that you hear has these three Gunas. The music has three Gunas. There is Sattvic music, Rajasic music, Tamasic music. Similarly, the color that you see there are certain colors that referred as Sattvic colors, there are colors referred as Rajasic, there are colors referred as Tamasic. Okay. So anything you take, food that you eat has Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. So all that has these three. Now, when we have these three, we are going to be focusing with reference to human. And in human, we are going to focus on human mind and its expressions, the thoughts. Mind today, in this context, we take it as thoughts. What is the thought? Every thought has a quality. What are the qualities? Say, take it as good, bad, ugly. Right. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Movie. Good, bad, ugly. No, only movie you go. That's the first English movie I saw. First movie, Hollywood movie for me was that. Good, bad, ugly. Now in this study, every human has thoughts. So long as you have thoughts, those thoughts will be classified into these three: Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. You can't escape. Number one. And moving quickly, okay? There are a couple of points you need to remember when we study Gunas. This is the first point. Every human will necessarily have thoughts. So long as you have thoughts, those thoughts will have a particular texture to it. That texture is classified as Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Number one. Number two is all humans have got all the three gunas. The combined proportion account for the diversity we experience amongst human beings. Everybody has thoughts. Every thought has these three, and every human being has this. Means why there is a difference. The difference exists between two human beings is because of the proportion, the combined proportion of the three gunas. So you can't escape from any one of the guna. You have the three gunas. This is the second point you got to remember, the proportion. The third point you need to remember here is the guna cannot exist exclusively. No guna can stay by itself. On its own, it cannot exist. Sattva cannot exist by itself. Rajas cannot exist by itself. Tamas cannot exist by itself. It needs the support of other two. So all three coexist together. So number one, all humans have all three. The difference is only in terms of proportion. And all of us have got all three. Why we all have all three is because no guna can exist on its own. Right? Now comes the idea. Okay. I have all three. Anyway, you only said, I'm going to have all three. Then why study? What is the necessity for us to know about these gunas? What is the purpose? The agenda. The agenda for these people is two. Number one, the human life gets its fulfillment only by developing more and more of sattva and keeping rajas and tamas under check and eliminate them. Initially keep it under check and eliminate it. That is the only way through which you would be able to reach what you aspire to reach, what you want in life. Catch hold of any human in the world, ask him what you want in life. Each one will say one thing. You will never find two fellows saying the same thing. Even today in the class also, now each one of you sitting here is sitting here for a different reason, isn't it? She is sitting here not to know what I am going to speak. She is sitting here only for what? Right? I am not going to say what. Lunch I will get, dinner who will say? But there's a different reason. You see, you come and sit for a different, each one has their own. But then, in and through all these surface differences, there is something hidden. You see, all of us have got varied desires, varied wants, varied needs. But through fulfilling that desire, you are aspiring to achieve something, isn't it? Take for example, the man says, what do you want? Yes, you. After this corona, you know what happened? Our job has become so unstable. All that I want is just that job security. That's all I want. No. Suddenly, this company should not announce that they are going to close down. Or suddenly, they should not be selling off. What we call nowadays as merger. One company merging with another company. Merging, buying. Earlier, we used to go and shop for chocolates, biscuits. That's what you can afford to buy. Right? Those fellows can afford to buy companies. That's all the differences. But the implications are so many for the employee. Fellow says, "You, sir, it is really scary." Another fellow says, "My God, now this for the last 2 years, we have been attending all online class only. Suddenly, I have to see the teacher." I'm talking about school. School, university. As it is, my daughter started feeling the pinch. He's scared. Yo. Now I have to sit properly in the classroom. That's her worry. The concern was now for the last, or 2 years or so, they'll be sitting, any way you want, they'll say, and some of them have put a screenshot and say live, and they'll be nodding their head. They recorded that and started playing that. They do their own things. So many things is equal. I don't know how those teachers manage. Scary to hear the stories, these people. Her desire is this desire. The maidservant has her own desire. The manager has his own desire. The government has its own desires. Everyone has got their own desires. All that is very different. But in and through all that, they're striving to achieve something. Once I get that desire fulfilled, what will happen? Something will happen. Correct? So, your idea of fulfilling that desire is only for that purpose, not for this. Once I fix an AC in the house, after that life is going to be what? Can have a good sleep. After AC, no problem. We expect what? What these masters have told us is, my dear fellows, that goal is same for all humans. The desires are variable. But in and through the desires, you are aspiring for something, no? That is fixed. If you want to achieve that, that would be possible only by improving, developing a particular guna in you. So the very purpose of this study is, if I have to grow, I need to fulfill, I need to develop a particular guna in me. Promoting that particular guna alone will aid in fulfilling the agenda. Otherwise, my desires will get fulfilled, but my life continues to remain unfulfilled. See, that is the tragedy of life. That is the tragedy of desires. Desires get satiated, desires get fulfilled. But your life continues to remain void, empty. Without fulfilling that desire, your life remains empty, understandable. After getting it, what is your life? Back to square one. This is the same condition for us. Why? I say that's because of this. So, what is the agenda here? The study of the three gunas is I have to develop one and try to eliminate the other two. But then you only said just now, no guna can stand on its own. What will happen then? They say that is where you transcend the gunas and reach a state called guna atita. You go beyond the gunas. One. The second agenda for us to study about the guna is, if this is the goal, then first I have to know where I stand. What is my current position with reference to these gunas? What is the current position? I have all three gunas in me. That means, what is the permutation combination of the three gunas in my personality? And in what all the ways in which those gunas are manifesting and expressing, finding its expression. Gunas have to express themselves. How they express. That is why we study the three gunas. So, to find fulfillment for our life, number one. Number two, to know where I stand. So, the study of the three gunas gives us a direction. The direction is what? Promote satva, because in the promotion of satva guna alone, you can find fulfillment to your life. And then we have to study what is this sattva, what is rajas, what is tamas. These are all backdrops, okay? This backdrop you have to study. Otherwise, this will look, very, very scholastic, very, very academic. Of course, academical is what I recommend people to start with. I say you start with it, it's okay. But then after a point, you have to switch over. If the switch over is not happening, then it is redundant. You are wasting your time. You can might as well study politics. At least you will get a better entertainment. Economics, stock market you can study. You will get, some value will be there for your life. Study of this will not be valuable unless you have this as a backdrop. So the backdrop is this. Now we move to what is this sattva, what is rajas, and what is tamas. Sattva guna, for each one of this, finally I'll give 2 points. Okay, last. 2 aspects to sattva, 2 for rajas, 2 for tamas. Okay. I'll give that last. I'll explain this and then give it at the last. Okay. Yes.
So, we should look at it only from a thought, at the thought level, not at the action level.
No, you understand action as nothing but expression of a thought. See, I have the thought. The thought in me is what is finding expression as my talking. Right? It's a thought. So when you try to understand, when I'm explaining, I will be explaining from what? From expression. But you have to understand it as what? Not as expression, you should understand that as thought. Because as thought, it is impossible for me to speak, explain. Right? So good that you asked. Because this is one confusion you will find all right through. Because when you read the scriptures will speak from this way. You have to read it how? This way. See? That is why we sit in the opposite direction. Otherwise, we all can sit like how this, couples sit. The restaurant, you can identify. The way people sit in the restaurant, you can identify. Boyfriend, girlfriend, couple. Newly married after 15 years. It's only 2 years. You can identify. How? Next to each other, if they are sitting, it means what? Courting period. Right? They're sitting next to each other. Right? Married 2 years, front of each other. After 15 years, diagonally opposite. You see that? Next time when you go to restaurant, observe. It's so interesting to see. It's so true. Huh? You go and see, they'll sit diagonally opposite. They will not sit even, because if they encounter each other means what? Finished. It is like that. I look in this direction, you look in the opposite direction. Why? What is the significance of this? Huh? The teacher will always speak from expression to thought, manifestation to thought. The student has to understand from thought to manifestation. See, that's why if you are not having this basic understanding, if you start analyzing the things, it will look redundant. Many of the scriptural, explanations and teachings and all that will look so absurd for us. Why? Because we also go from the same direction. No, you have to come in the opposite direction. But then why they are not coming from that direction? A teaching can never happen from here. Because teaching itself means what? Teaching means what I am doing now. Talking, expression. See, when you have to do reflection, let's say, when you read, when you think over, you are starting from there. Thought. Your starting point is thought. My starting point is talk. See, that is why we will come in this direction. In the sense, anyone who speaks. When you ask a good question, starting point for you is what? When you ask a question got framed in the thought first. Then you spoke. Now what I have to do? From here, I have to go into a thought. I travel the opposite direction. See? So the same way here. When you wanted to try to understand me, understand the scriptures or reading or listening, you start from one direction, the book starts from other direction. Right? Sattva Guna. What is Sattva Guna, sir? Thoughts. And I'll be explaining it from expression. From expression, you should understand the quality, attitude, thought. So that thought finds an expression like this. What thought? Sattva Guna finds its expression. How? The typical dimension of Sattva Guna is action continues, action happens, but the mental equanimity not disturbed. Right? That is called Sattva Guna. Remember, Sattva, anytime you read, you understand from this point. First word that should occur in your mind is action. Now, very rare for us to recognize Sattva with action. Sattva always is recognized with calm, serene, peaceful. See, the moment I say relax, what is the first thing you will get in your mind? Relax means what? Not doing anything. Isn't it? That's what Ramtirtha says. Exact opposite he says. What is rest? He says intense work is rest. What is intense work? Work itself are a problem. Right? First problem is work. Second problem is intense work. Right? How can you have intense work and be restful? See, Sattva Guna, that is called Sattva. So Sattva first idea is performance of action, execution of action, doing it. Action is the first thought. Right? Action continues, but the mind is not disturbed. Without any disturbance at the level of thought, level of mind, action goes on and on and on. How is that possible? Means what? This is what we need to understand. Because our experience shows exactly opposite. More the work, more the agitation, isn't it? That is why we have weekends and vacation. Why we have weekends? Why can't you just continue? Cannot continue. Why? Even schools have started doing what now? 5 days. Now Friday, half a day. What is it? Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Why? Why you are thanking God? It's Friday. The thought of Friday gives you idea of what? Getting away from action. Why getting away from action? Because staying with action is stressful, painful. Now it is not, thank God it's Friday. Now it is, thank God it is Thursday. See, thank God it's Thursday. And after some time, what is going to happen? Thank God Wednesday. Thank God Tuesday. Thank God Monday. Thank God morning. Why? Only half day they'll work. That's what our mind wants actually. It says what? Don't do anything. Because doing is equal to agitation. Now, how is it that a sattvic mind, a sattvic individual, is one who is able to perform action? At the same time, his mind is not getting agitated. See, that is the state is referred. See, by nature, your mind has two qualities, asthira and chanchala. This is the fundamental nature of mind. Right? So I'll be using the word mind in very many ways. So every time I can't be defining it. Okay. So I use the same word, but implications are many. Mind has this tendency, asthira, chanchala, unsteady and wavering. What is the difference? There are two types of movement. One is moving from point to point. Another thing is movement from a point. Within staying in the same place, it is disturbed. That is called these two movements. When you perform action in a particular way, when you work to execute actions in a particular way, this movement is brought under control. Thereby, your life gets balanced. The consequence of this is a balance. That balance is what is generally referred by people as Sattva Guna, means what? Samatvam Yoga Uchate. Equanimity. Sattva means what, sir? Equanimous, peaceful, balanced, mature, serene. And then you can go on adding, depending upon your strength of vocabulary. That's about it. Right? But how that is achieved? Balance is to be achieved. But how do you achieve that balance in life? That is Sattva Guna. Sattva is where you execute action, action continues. What type of action you will continue? You perform action. Any action to perform, every action has two dimensions to it. One, the doer, right? Another one is the consequence, the effect, the fruit. The doer of action and consequence of action. So when you perform action, when you perform your duties, obligations, you have to perform with a specific understanding, with reference to doer, with reference to fruit. That is called the sattva. Okay. In one word, we just say as action. Action means implied. There has to be an actor. Without an actor, action is not possible. And every action has a consequence. Now, no action goes without a consequence. That is the law of causation. Every effort has an effect. Every cause has an effect. You cannot have action without consequence. So what is the action? What is the fruit? As an actor, you can have two ways of performing the action. Two bhavana, we say. Two mental attitude, mental framework, understanding, belief. You can take a specific position. As an actor, you can take a specific position, irrespective of any action that you do. Remember, it's got nothing to do with a particular type of action piece. Any action that you do in life, you have two positions or possibilities. Position of a taker or a position of a giver. There are two options we have. As a doer, now you can't say your doership itself should not be there at all. That's not what I'm talking about. See, that is a different level of understanding. I say you can't start with it. You know, kartrutva bhavana itself should not be there. I'm going to perform action without doership. No. I say without doership, doing action is a different category. We don't have to worry about that part now. That is guna atita category. That's not guna category. Within guna category, there are two. One is the attitude of a giver. Another one is the attitude of a taker. The moment you have a position of a giver, right, instantly you experience one thing in you. What is it? Independence. A giver is always independent of the world. Isn't it? Taker is always dependent. Learn. So simple. So the giver is independent. Like a beggar comes and asks for alms. Right? And a person gives something. Now, who is independent? Who is dependent? The moment he takes a position of a giver, he becomes independent of the beggar. Right? Now you have a maid in the house. Right? If you are a giver, then you will be independent of your maid. If you are a taker, then you are dependent on the maid. Remember, it has got nothing to do with the social status. Okay, we think it is to do with social status. No, it is a mental framework. Remember, if the maid were to come and work in your house with the attitude of a giver, the maid becomes independent of you. Instantly, a sense of independence will be experienced. That independence, when you experience, is where you can detach yourself from the doership attitude. A dependent personality can never aspire to get detached from the sense of doership. It's not possible. It will be a little heavy only. We have to digest it. Right? So it's a little heavy idea. So I'll move again. Action means doer. Doer means he can have a particular attitude. What is attitude? Giver or taker. Right? That's why he gives the example, no? Oxygen bill. Have you paid your oxygen bill? Yes. First time when I heard, nobody gave me the bill. I heard first time. Who's going to give oxygen bill? What does it mean? From birth, you are a taker. You have been taking all the time. That is why you are feeling the lack of freedom. you seem to be in a shackle. You are imprisoned. What is imprisonment? There's no independence you feel. The moment you switch to a position of a giver, right? Remember, it is a thought. I'm not talking about actual act of giving. See, the act of giving definition and all that is a different equation. Right? That separately you have to study. Okay. Now, the mental framework that I have is, am I a giver or a taker? Am I contributor, consumer? Am I going to office to contribute or to consume? Am I going to a relationship to contribute or to consume? Huh? Even inside the house also, are you a contributor or you are a consumer? Whole life had been only what? See, you could be a fantastic contributor when it comes to your organization. At home, what are you? Consumer. That fellow will experience where stress, family problems, wife, That's why I spend more time in the office. Why? Then there could be a person who is a fantastic contributor as a husband, right? But pathetic father, pathetic son, pathetic uncle, useless neighbor. Wherever you stand as a consumer attitude, you go into that space only to grab what I can. You cannot escape from feeling a sense of dependency. Why I have that craving. That craving can be satisfied, fulfilled, satiated only by this. Therefore, I have to be dependent on it. If I go to a space where I want to give, contribute, share, right? What will happen? Straight away, a sense of independence. A giver experiences independence. That independence helps him to drop that sense of doership. That creates a balance. Therefore, what is going to give you, how do you reach to that state of balance, which is called satva? By action only. By not performing action, you are not going to get it. Not possible. This is one aspect. Okay. Yes.
So sorry, one question. The attitude of giving, you become independent because you're a contributor. I need a little more clarity here. How does that lead to less doership? Because when you're giving and you're independent, there's a likelihood that doership also will.
Correct. That is why second point. That is why there is another aspect to action. What is another aspect of action? Fruit. The fruit. The moment you go to a fruit of action, the contributor understands what, with reference to fruit of action, the fruit is not purely dependent on my effort. Remember, the result is always collective, not individual. See, company gets profit. How? You have to work. Of course, you have to go to office, do your work and all that. But your driver who drove you on time has also contributed, no? Correct. The mechanic who kept the car in good condition has contributed, no? And the contractor who had, after giving all the cuttings and all that, still he managed to pay on road, no? And then all those fellows who drove at that point of time did not have this any problem. All of their vehicles also in good condition, isn't it? Imagine suddenly the car which is going ahead of you, tire bursts, and loses control. What would have happened? No fault of yours. No fault of you. You started on time. The driver is on time. The vehicle is in good condition. Road is also good. This also, everything's perfect. But unfortunately, the tire burst. Did not happen, no? So the fact that I'm able to enjoy the fruit, that's what Krishna says in the Gita. Karmanyeva adhikares mam phaleshu kadacha. Your adhikara, your right is over action. Action means what? Giving, contributing. Your business, your adhikara is only with reference to this. That phala, the fruit is not in your adhikara. But then our ego will never agree to that. Our ego will say what? Hey, if I am the doer, I should be the deciding factor, no? Right? Particularly when you take a position of a contributor, it will increase, isn't it? Only when you have that sense of contribution. When you have not contributed, you will feel what? Yeah, it's okay. But when you have contributed is the time where you will feel you have scored a century, but the team loses. That is the time that fellow will feel the pain more than a fellow who had scored only 20 runs and got out. When he scores 20 and gets out and the team loses, there's no problem. But when he scores a century and then the team loses, is where he will be fuming at the bowlers. Idiots. Such a good total I gave you guys. Could not contain. Why? Contribution. To which he said, remember the fruit of action. That he says. Why? Remember, fruit means two things only. Fruit is not in your hands, and we say two things are not in your hands. Right? Artha and Kama is not in your hands. The phala of Artha Kama is not in your hands. See, what is the acquisition and enjoyment? That's all. The idea of I am going to be successful, I am going to make this is the target, that's what I am going to achieve. That is not in your hands, nor the enjoyment thereof. These two things is not in my hands. Then what is in my hands? Moksha is in my hand. There are Chaturvida Purusharthas are there. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the four things you aspire. Human aspirations can be only four. Right? In that, Artha Kama is not in your hands. Then what is in your hands? Purushartha means what? The human aspirations, goal, food, what you aspire for in life, what you want to achieve in life. There is only these four things. What are the four? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. What is Dharma? Righteousness, truthfulness. Artha, success, wealth, acquisition, Kanchana, gold, etc. Kama, desire, enjoyment, Kamini, right? Happiness. This one, joy. Moksha, liberation. Now, what this Sattvic understanding comes is, Sattva Guna means the one who understands this Artha Kama is not the fruit. Then what is the fruit? Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karodhyah. Anashrita karma palam. What is that karma? See, regardless of the karma palam, what is the fruit of action? Without regard to the fruit of action, the one who performs his bounden duty, whatever he is supposed to do, whatever he is doing. What is the bounden duty? Giving is the bounden duty. Why giving is a bounden duty? Because you have already taken so much. Service the loan first that you have taken before you can apply for a fresh loan, isn't it? That's what the bankers will tell you, no? Isn't it? Imagine, what is his name? Vijay Mallya, no? I don't think he has cleared. Imagine he applies for a loan and you are the chairman of a bank. He says, can you grant another, 200 crores? Forget about 200 crores. He says, can you grant me a car loan? I want to buy one Maruti car. Will you sanction? That is why no petition of yours to God is not getting approval. Why? Already you have been given so much. That is what he says. Oxygen bill have you paid? I'm finished. Now you are yet to service that loan itself. Therefore, he says, what is the bounden duty? The bounden duty is to switch over from the thought of a taker to a giver. While doing that, what is understanding I should have? This is not. Then what is that he keeps as a goal? Artha Kama is not his goal. Then what is the goal? Moksha is a goal. That can be given. That is directly connected to your action. With moksha, there is no third party involved. Artha Kama is purely third party. The third party you can call as government, the third party can be called as the market conditions, third party you can call as the horoscope, your karma, will of God, you call whatever you want. But there will be that X factor playing a role, a deciding factor, defining factor. That defines. Which one? Artha Kama. The moment it is not in my control, a sensible human will do what? He will not pay attention to it. It's a waste of time. Anyway, it has got nothing to do with us. Then why pay attention to that? Isn't it? That's why when they are reading the budget, which one do you pay attention to? Huh? How income tax? Why? Your salaried class. Salaried class will pay attention only to the income tax slab. Huh? Srinivasan, where to listen to? Is there any extra tax for gold? This is what his problem will be. He is not concerned about this part. If you are smoking, if you are drinking, what is your problem then? Right? If you are retired, is there any scheme for senior citizens? You will pay attention only to that particular facet. Rest are all just an information for you. You may know it, you may not know it, for gossiping sake, because next day morning when you go to the park, your team will be standing there. With them you have to talk, what to do. Right. Now today morning if you had been to the park, what you will be discussing? India-New Zealand match. What happened, I don't know. Yesterday, no? India-New Zealand match. Either victory or loss. Lost, huh?
They lost badly.
Oh. Badly lost, huh? Good. Then what? Wow. Then analysis will be more. Good when I say, because then you will have more entertainment. If you have won the match, means there's nothing much to talk. Anyway, you have won the match, now what is there to talk? So Sattva Guna means performance of action with the understanding of what? As a giver, I give, and then I also understand this. This is Sattva. Then what is Rajas? Sattva is a difficult one. Rajas, Tamas, very easy. So easy. All that you have to do is stand in front of a mirror. Rajas, Tamas. That's easy now. Sattva is kashtam for us. Yes.
So when you say action has two elements, doer and the consequence. In this case, if I am in the case of Sattva,
Yes.
doing is giving with that attitude.
Yeah. As a giver, you take a position of a giver.
Of a giver. Yeah, and the consequence is moksha.
I don't keep the consequence focus on Arthakama. My focus will be where is this action taking me towards moksha or not? Is this liberating me or not? Or at least is it giving me what we call as self-development, purification? Is this action helping me to purify me? Then what will happen? Straight away you become independent of the consequence. Right? You become independent of the consequence. Also, you have become independent of the weakness of doership. What is your state now? You are already almost liberated. That is Sattva. Right? Sattva Guna. Then what is Rajo Gunas? Rajos means action continues. Remember, here is also action. Action happens in Sattva, action happens in Rajas, action happens in Tamas also. Don't say Tamas means no action. That's not understanding. Okay. Sattva also action, Rajas also action, Tamas also action. Only difference is the mental framework. What is the framework of mind? What is the understanding? What is the thought behind it? The agenda. The agenda is purification. Then it is Sattva Guna. Right? Agenda is a giver attitude. Then it is Sattva Guna. As a contributor for purification, action continues. Right? That is Sattva. Rajas also action continues, but with the disturbance. Action happens with the disturbed mind. Action with the disturbed mind is called Rajas. What is the disturbance? This is where googly comes. Disturbance, yeah. All of us understand disturbance only from the dimension of sorrow. Vedanta says joy and sorrow both are disturbances. See, when you are joyful, you can't eat, you lose your appetite. You know, when you're joyful. That's why for my wedding, they asked, what all the lunch menu? I said, I don't care. Anyway, I'm not going to eat. I said, minimize. This I cut that. They thought, I'm such a frugal fellow. They didn't understand. My father-in-law thought, I'm a very good guy. I said, why 4 sweets? He said, you like sweets, no? I like sweets. Pack it and give. Because on that day, there is, there's a chance of you to be thinking in terms of what is, for breakfast, kesari or, laddus are there, this is there. Who cares about all that? Why? Joyful state. Supposed to be. At least that one day. Right? When you are sorrowful also, what happens? You can't eat. See, you can't sleep. Joyful, you can't sleep. Sorrow, you cannot sleep. Joyful, you can't eat. Sorrowful, you can't eat. Any normal activities, not possible. What I meant to say is, this shows to prove to us what? Both these states, mind is not available to perform normal action. That is called agitation. Mind is agitated. There is a tinge of madness you will find. Now, when a man performs action joyfully, there's a tinge of madness. You can see these guys, after taking a wicket, you see, you just click that and keep it aside and see, is there any logic in that action? And scoring a century, they punch in the air. Now, who are you punching? Same way, these fellows lose, in tennis. I've seen this off late now a lot. They break. The racket they break. As though it's the fault of the racket. Right? What did the racket do, man? And they express, what is this? That's called madness. That, when you are disturbed state, when you execute action, there is a tinge of madness. It will appear illogical, but illogical doesn't give that force. Say, madness it is. In that state, your intellect gets confused. There is no clarity. Sattva has clarity. Rajas is a confused state. And mind is what? Mind is fully preoccupied with something else. Not available to perform the action. It cannot. It is preoccupied. Preoccupied with what? Preoccupied with its disturbance. Rajas. Right? Tamas, if you go, and just jump in few steps. Okay. Tamas, if you go, is a state of inaction. It is defined as a state of inaction. But don't take sattva action. Rajas, disturbed action. Tamas is a inaction. But when we say inaction, don't take it as literally not doing. Inaction means there is a lot of mental resistance to action. That is called inaction. There is resistance to it. Like in the office, you tell a fellow, hey, can you just complete the job and go? You take extra. Immediately you'll ask what? Why me? See, they're asking me to do. If the maid you tell her, no, can you just move that and then swipe? No. All around the swipe. It's there, right? Can't you just lift it, put it aside, swipe? You need not place it back there. Leave it there. That's okay. But at least sweep fully, no. Why? That is called tamas. Tamas means inaction. Inaction means resistance to action. Why there is resistance to action? Inaction. Inaction is equal to resistance. Resistance means why there is resistance? Resistance to which action? Remember, not resistance to all actions. Resistance to perform obligatory action. Not all. See, resistance to perform their obligations. What I am supposed to do, they resist. That resistance is, so they resist obligation means what are they doing then? They're resisting obligations. Nah? Or they're not doing anything. No, they are doing things. Then what are they doing? Doing actions out of what? Likes and dislikes is common for both. Right? Doing actions out of delusion, irresponsibility. What is irresponsible action? I've seen people, it's so fascinating. They slog, work day in, day out, save little money, and then take loan, buy a car, and not maintain it. Clean. Car cleaning will happen where? Outside. Inside the car? I say, where are you going to be? Outside or inside? Which one you should clean first? If you take priority, priority should be given to cleaning the car inside first, not outside. I'm not saying keep it, dirty outside. But how much is this? They say it is. First day they drive and show me. I would like you to come with us. We'll go for a drive. And I think if I sit in the car, after that the car will not meet with accident. Without realizing my car met with accident. Right? Stationary car. While driving, you meet with accident or some meaning in that. Keep the car on the road. This fellow comes and hits. Now, what to do with it? Then go. Now, what to do with that fellow? As the driver happened to be a lady. Okay. Within brackets. Because the moment I start, crowd will come. And the moment crowd gathers, obviously you know who will get the support. They will ask, why did you stop here? You see, now on the road, why are you stopping? You are on the road, you are supposed to driving. Yeah. This is called Tamas. What is it? Inaction. Inaction is equal to, what did they say? Resistance. Correct. Inaction is equal to Resistance. Resistance to what? Resistance to what you are supposed to do. Having paid so much, having slogged so much, which means you have absolutely no value. Imagine you're just keeping, 15 lakhs on the road. Imagine you just leave 15 lakhs on the road. What you will do? Then your purse you drop somewhere, you rush. How much you will have it inside that? Is 2,000 rupees is there inside. That you are so worried. But 15 lakhs is simply standing on the road. Don't care. It's okay. What does it mean? Irresponsible, reckless, delusion. That's what is referred as pramada. The state where you derive pleasure, happiness from that irresponsibility. That you tell that fellow to go and clean the car is a pain. But if you tell him, go and pick up that 15 lakhs and bring, he'll say, oh, God, I'm so happy to get it. Just give him that 50 lakhs, ask him to count and give it back to you, they are so happy. Irresponsibility means what? They derive pleasure, joy, happiness from this. Tamas is a state of inaction. Inaction means what? Irresponsibility. Don't say inaction. Say irresponsible. So sattva means dynamic and equanimous. Rajas, agitated action. Right. You are active, you are performing action, but mind is agitated. Tamas means inactive and indifferent. There is tamas.
And Tamas, what would be the equivalent of being a giver and focusing on for the moksha as
For them, let us know. No, they don't have a clue of any one of these things. For Rajasic person, what is action? Action is because of his desires, likes and dislikes. Surface. Likes and dislikes means surface. Say today morning, I woke up. Yesterday, late night. Went to a party. Example, okay? Example. Party. Not late there. I didn't expect that it would go up to, 3 o'clock. I had to stay. And morning when I woke up, I was so tired. So I sent a message. I'm tired today, no class. That's called Rajas. Acting on immediate likes and dislikes. Today I don't feel like talking. Today it's exciting. Means what? I like talking. So what do? 10, 15, huh? 10, 15. I talk. 10:30, 2 people get up and go. I talk. 11 o'clock, another 2 leave. I continue. Evening, 5 o'clock, you come back. I'm still talking. Because you can't leave. That is called what? Liking to act. Somebody is listening. No, such a kick you get out of it. For that, you go on and on and on. This is called surface. You see, Rajasic person, that's why he is so volatile, he is so disturbed. There's no consistency. It's so much of fluctuations in him. Why? Because surface. He lives only on the surface. likes and dislikes. Immediate likes and dislikes, that one. Tamasic fellow is one who performs actions based on what? On total delusion. Rajas, confusion. What is tamas? Tamas is delusion. Sattva, clarity. Rajas, confusion. Tamas, delusion. In delusion, he is doing things. He is deluded with reference to what? Deluded completely. What is delusion? Delusion has certain properties. See, delusion has a property. What are the properties of delusion? First one, recklessness. See these people driving the two-wheelers. They ride with such recklessness. Just take, you can see clearly there is no space. It is a clear risk for you to, even if one small shake were to happen in that car, you're finished. And still the fellow goes. What is it? He has no understanding of consequence. The damage that it is going to cause to himself and the damage it is going to cause to the other fellow. Now, because of his mistake, that fellow has to be standing there in the police station. He has to justify, sir, it's not my mistake, sir, it is his mistake. Right? Now, why? That is what is referred as tamasic action. And how he will perform action? Delusion. Delusive action means what? He will think of doing action, but he will never do it. Other inaction. See, there are so many facets to it. It's so difficult for me to cover it in one class. Procrastination, say no. What is it? That is tamas. But what is he doing? He would say, I want to do this action, but I cannot do. Why you cannot do? Sir, we want to record the class, but we can't record the class. Why? You have to say, sir, there is no, to record a class, what is needed? Camera needed. Some camera, you need not have, underwater camera and all that. It's not needed. Right? Camera is needed. And then electricity should be there. Right? You say, sir, we can't record now. We'll do the recording next class because today we cannot do. Why? Because there is a power problem. No electricity. Next class we'll do. We are postponing, procrastinating because there is a reason. Some reason. Justified or not justified is up to each one's thing. There you can't say. There immediately I'll say, then why you are not having a battery backup? I can argue. But fact is what? Some reason is there. Without any reason whatsoever, action gets postponed. We'll do it a little later. For what? I'm not able to give, live one. That's why these things, we got to give live action. Say, we'll see later. They said, we'll look into it. We'll look into it. As the boy goes and proposes to girl, let me think about it. Okay, you think about it, give answer. When You give me 1 week's time. Now, 1 week is she going to be thinking only on that? Hmm? On what basis you are asking that 1 week time? Say yes or no. No means no. It's okay. But there has to be a time for me to think. Understandable. But then, on what basis? No basis, nothing. Just like that, you wanted to take a decision, postpone that decision little later. Every meeting concludes with what? We'll meet again. We'll meet again and discuss. During which time, what are you going to do? Are you going to think about it? No. Then why you postpone? Why you procrastinate? He says, that's called delusion. You have no reason. Still postpone. Your performance of action happens at the thought level. I want to do, sir, but action is not happening. That is called Tamas. Remember, action happens at all three. Sattva also action happens. Rajas also action happens. Tamas also action happens. Sattva also experiences emotions. Rajas also experience emotions. Tamas also experience emotions. Sattva, pure emotion. Rajas, attachment. Attachment means what? Remember, the moment you use the word attachment, another word should come along with it. Only then you will understand what is the problem of attachment. Attachment means selfishness. Possessiveness. Possessiveness means agitation. Selfish means
Separation.
violence. Remember, attachment means what? Means violence. You can never have attachment without violence. Impossible. That is why we say, don't get attached. Vedanta says, don't get attached. Not because but we think, attachment to be some noble quality. No. You understand attachment as violence. Only then you would be able to register what is the flaw in that. What is wanting? What is the problem there? We never understand. That's why he has to write one full book on that. Holocaust of attachment. Holocaust. What is Holocaust? There's a lot of resistance from people for that word. Say, how can you keep a title book like that? Said, of all the violence that we have known in the world, in the recent history at least, Holocaust is the most violent, outrageous action. That's exactly what you are doing in your life because of attachment. And we are not realizing. Title. Book. Title people don't understand. Forget about the content. Title you must understand at least. Say, it's a very negative. Why negative only? No. Violence it is. Attachment. Tamasing. About what is Tamasa? Vulgar. Tamas. Vulgarity. Tamas. Of each facet of this Sattva, this Tamas. It's fascinating. So the direction in life is what? Promote Sattva, delete Tamas, at least keep Rajas under check. Why you have to keep Rajas under check? If you are not keeping Rajas under check, what will happen? It will go back to Tamas. Rajas will lead to Tamas. What is Rajas? Agitated action. You increase Rajas, what will happen? More agitation. More agitation, more agitation, more agitation. How much agitation you can manage? You can't manage beyond a point. What will happen then? Stop action. That's called tamas. So if you are not keeping Rajas under check, it will fall back to tamas. So there is no difference between Rajas and tamas. It's the same thing. It's only degree difference. Sattva is a totally different quality by itself. To promote sattva, keep Rajas under check and totally eliminate as much as possible. Your effort has to be, I'm saying. Will it happen or not? I have no idea. But the goal should be this. Promote sattva, check Rajas. At no point you should allow the surfacing of tamas. Never allow the manifestation of it. Eliminate it completely. That is the way to go about it. Is the sattva, Rajas and tamas. Right.